Welcome back to the NextGen Prophets podcast. I am your host, your mentor, and your big sister, Deborah Ann Danae Feltason. And guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but we are already just a few days away from our NextGen Prophet Summit. This is the first ever NextGen Prophet Summit that Michael and I have ever hosted. And my goodness, the breakthroughs, the connections, the open doors that are coming because of this summit have been phenomenal. Next week is preparation week, and then it is the weekend. I cannot wait to give you guys more updates on everything that's happening next week. But for right now, I'm going to slow it down and I'm going to tell you something very important. Okay, I hope you're pacing yourself. I hope you're listening. Write this down. This is a word from your big sister for you and your prophetic process. Okay, I need you to go to www.myprophetictribe.com and I need you to order your online Meerkat Pack ticket for this summit. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why you need to book your ticket for this online summit pack. Okay, I'm going to tell you why. Here's why. We have spent the last 25 years perfecting the craft of online ministry. 1999, we released our first online prophetic school, our first online course. And since then, we have been on the cutting edge of every social media online tool to make your experience in our ministry, in our tribe, as excellent and as interactive as possible. And when you come to this NextGen Prophet Summit, you're going to be in the room right from your living room. All right. We've had some tribe member that like to join us from their bedroom in their pajamas. You know, you're welcome to do that too. I personally don't recommend it for this particular event because you're going to have a front row seat. That's right. We are going to position you right there, stage center, stage left, so that you can have the interaction with our guest speakers as well as the rest of our tribe. You're going to see them popping up on the camera to say hi, talk to you, get to know you. And then we're going to go into our interactive group projects. That's right. You're going to not just be in your own breakout room on Zoom. You're going to be in an actual group project live with one of our groups right there with our guest speakers, with our team, as we continue to accelerate you in your prophetic process. So I want you to go to myprophetictribe.com and book your online ticket. We've got just a few days before we get started. And look, I understand that you may not be able to make every single session. You know, the great thing about getting your online ticket, you get the email recap with the Zoom recording of each session. So if it's a little too late or it's a little too early or you're running to pick up the kids, you will get the recording. You will still get every beautiful moment of the worship, every beautiful Power Pack moment of the message, and even interactive group projects. You're not going to miss a thing. So book your ticket, and I'm going to jump into today's podcast because I want to talk to you a little bit about the warfare you face as a prophet when you begin to step out in your prophetic process. Now, look, we've been talking very in depth about your process these last few weeks. We've been talking about the culture, how you're meant to impact the world around you, how you're meant to impact the territory you're in. And this Next Gen Summit has really highlighted this effect. I want to give a shout out to Rochelle Holly, one of our tribe members who has organized a 24-hour prayer wall with the tribe from all over the world to pray through this summit, to pray you and your prophetic process through. So make sure you get there, you get that ticket to really interact with her. Give her a shout out on Facebook or on social media if you get an opportunity to, because this woman has rocked the floor and swept the floor with the devil, because that's what we've been having to do. When we as prophets get together and we collaborate with one another in warfare for our process, we do a couple of things, okay? The very first thing we do is we don't take on the hordes of hell alone. Now, I'm no war expert. I didn't go to military school and I did not go through the military, but I'm pretty certain that the odds of victory are better when you have more than one person going against an entire battalion. And this strategy seems to work pretty well throughout the Bible and throughout history. When you have key players taking on an entire army, working together, experts in their field, you are going to see breakthrough. Even David and his mighty men wasn't one mighty man going up against the Philistines, wasn't one mighty man going against the Amalekites and all of those people. No, he had his tight-knit group of mighty men that would go to war with him, and they came against the hordes of hell. They came against every work of the devil. They came to steal, kill, and destroy every gift that God had given them. And when you as a prophet are going through your process, sometimes you forget that God has connected you with battle buddies, with those who are meant to pray you through and through with you. We need to collaborate as prophets. We want to see the kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Then you need to collaborate with a fellow kingdom-minded prophet, somebody who will pray with you. This 24-hour prayer wall has really revolutionized the weight that Michael and I have felt. We are active in our warfare and praying through. But when an entire tribe came together at our back to pray through 24 hours a day, for some of these guys, because we have so much tribe, it's only 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes out of their day is impacting the lives of hundreds and thousands of people. Every single one of you listening to this podcast episode right now have been impacted by the prayers of our tribe. And when you come together with that battle buddy that God has been aligning you with, you are going to see that kind of breakthrough, not just in your life, but in the territory God has positioned you in. The second thing you need to keep in mind that when we begin to go and face warfare as prophets in our process is one of two things, okay? This warfare is going to come from either A, the territory which you're meant to be taking, okay? If God gives you a territory that you're meant to take ownership of, those who are currently living on that territory with their squatters' rights are going to push back against you. You're going to need to jump through a few spiritual and sometimes naturalistic loopholes in order to remove those squatters off of your land. God promised you that territory. God promised you that system, but you've had pushback, not just from coworkers, but you've had pushback from family members. You've had pushback from other Christians, unbelievers alike. You've had pushback everywhere you turn. Welcome, NextGen Prophet. That's called warring for your territory. And you're going to need strategy on how to identify what is pushback from the devil versus what is pushback because you're taking on too much. Because sometimes as prophets, we do that. We feel the warfare, we see the work of the devil, and so we try to take care of all of these different camps at the same time in this territory, and we end up being a little overwhelmed. So start by being strategic on where you are warring for your territory. Start with one area and allow God to progress your prayers. Allow Him to evolve the revelation of where you're needing to war, where you're needing to pray into, and also what is some internal warfare where you're upsetting people. Maybe there's open doors in your own life that you have that you need to be closing. I remember working with some of my tribe, and that was the craziest thing. They'd done all this external warfare. They rebuked words. They came against the principalities, and they came against the prince of the region and the witches of the region, and they did all of this stuff, but they still seemed to be coming under so much attack. And we sat and we prayed together, and the Lord revealed that there was a little bit of unforgiveness there was a little bit of pride that they needed to deal with. And just that one prayer time to deal with that unforgiveness, to deal with that little bit of pride that they had overlooked or were not aware was there, caused the floodgates of heaven to open, and they began to see so much breakthrough in their lives and in the territory they were called to impact. Don't underestimate that internal warfare, you guys. When we can get in right standing with God, you are going to see incredible breakthroughs come to pass. Now, the third part of our warfare we need to be aware of when we are warring for territories is that this land did have a previous owner. While you were not praying for that or taking ownership for that territory, somebody was. Squatters, they will find a place that's thriving, that's going to provide them the shelter, provide them the resources they need to thrive and survive. And when you come back to take back ownership over that land that God gave you, they're not eager to give it up. So make sure you are making actual investments into that territory God has given you every single day. Not just doing the spiritual warfare and prayer in your prayer closet, but being active to build on that land, such as, okay, maybe God's given you a ministry, make some social media posts every single day. Have a live every single day. Write a book. Maybe God needs you to write a book. Maybe God needs you to go out and serve in a church or serve in your community somewhere. Maybe God needs you to go and create actual relationships and connections with people that are going to open the doors for bringing God's say over that territory. When Michael and I were positioned in the medical system, that's what happened with us. We could do as much prayer as we liked, but eventually we had to talk to the doctors and nurses about the health of our children. Eventually we had to talk to the respiratory therapists about the treatment they were giving to our children to make sure that they breathed okay and they survived. And with that interaction came wisdom and revelation. When we spoke to them and we gave them license to heal our children, we gave the Holy Spirit license to give them revelation on how to heal our children. Sometimes we underestimate the power of a simple conversation. Sometimes a simple conversation with somebody is the open door God needs to begin speaking through them. That one interaction that you think is so silly or not important is what's needed to open the door. So don't be afraid of that. Go outside for a little while. Go for a walk. Talk to that cashier. Ask that awkward question. I'm going to share one more story with you, and then I'm going to wrap up this podcast. And this is kind of a very embarrassing story. I remember it was shortly after I'd had my babies. We'd come home. We were all healthy and at home and making strides forward in our future. And I went down to the little mini mart with my spiritual brother at the time, Nathan Barry. And the woman, the cashier behind the counter, she had every single sign that she looked and was pregnant. And having just been pregnant, I recognized a lot of these same symptoms, a lot of these same signs. And so I think you can guess where this is going. So I asked her how far along she was in her pregnancy. Cue the awkward silence for a few seconds as she comes out to say, actually, no, I'm not pregnant. I've got this really terrible disease that makes me look pregnant and is basically can kill me. So in that moment, some wise words from my apostle and spiritual father, Craig Toch, came to mind. And he said, there's nothing more awkward than the person who asked the question being awkward. Get right in there. So I did. I jumped right in there and I said, okay, well, what is that like? Man, you must get this a lot. People asking you if you're pregnant. How does that make you feel? And just by jumping in there and having that conversation relaxed her, relaxed everybody around me, and we were able to have a really constructive conversation where when I left, she felt so much better. She felt hopeful. She felt joyful. And she said to me, thank you so much. Most people, when I tell them what's really going on, they feel so awkward and everything, and they just leave. But you weren't afraid to ask me how I felt. You weren't afraid to ask me what it was like to battle with this disease, and I really appreciated that. When you as a prophet are unashamed and unafraid to get in there with somebody and have that conversation, it may be awkward a couple of times. You may say some things you shouldn't, put your mouth in it. It's okay. Open your mouth because the scripture tells me God can work all things together for those who love the Lord. Take ground, prophet. You have been called to that territory. I know the pushback has made you doubt that call. I know the rejection has made you wonder if you miss God, but this is your big sister, having prayed for you, hearing from God, reminding you that yes, you are called to that territory. You didn't miss God. You did not step out of covering. You just need to push through and you just need to take ground. So, this is your big sister signing out. I will see you in tomorrow's podcast episode. And even better yet, I will see you in the Zoom room for our NextGen Prophets Summit happening on the 21st and 22nd of February. Go register. Go save your seat while there's still room in that Zoom room so that you can be there to interact and you don't miss a thing of what God is doing here in the NextGen Prophets. I love you guys tons, and I will see you tomorrow.